Views expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like them, share them with all your friends and neighbors on social media and in the next door neighbors as well. It's time for the events that are going on around the Treasure Coast. It's the Sue-elen Sanders Show, and your host is the one and only Sue-elen Sanders.
Welcome to the Sue-elen Sanders Show, and we're glad to be here, and we're glad to be back with our little video courtesy of Cliff, who's been out for the last month, and we've missed him desperately. However, Greg did a really good job trying to be the make-believe Cliff.
It's amazing because he did get the whole recording, and I was able to get him up on YouTube.
Oh, really?
And all that. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of everybody. I'm also proud of the people who are in this room today because I've known Christina and Melanie, both of them, for 15 years.
Long time.
Yeah. So Christina Keiser is with us today, and she is with CC Kids, which is Communities Connected by Kids. For kids. Okay. And
it'd be a whole nother
get a little bit close to the microphone there. Yes.
It'd be a whole nother experience if it was connected by kids.
Yeah. And Melanie Wiles, who is Director of Development for, is that the right title? No.
Yes, Director of Parish Development for St. Anastasia Church and School.
But she is here with a brand new hat on. She is chairman of the board, just incoming right now, like within the last maybe 24 hours or so, of CC Kids. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Christina has been on my show talking about a lot of different types of issues and a lot of different types of names of the same organization that she's worked for too. But the one thing that the organization and the different issues that you talk about all have in common is being a champion for children.
That's absolutely correct, and that's how we found Melanie, actually. Who, as you said, is our new... Actually, Melanie has been on our board of directors for how long now?
Probably 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. She's been the vice chair, I think, most of that time. Catherine Hensley was our previous chair, accomplished a number of things, decided it was time to step down, and then Melanie stepped up. But through her work with Boys and Girls Club, and now with St. Anastasia, and it's a very small world.
Not to mention the 4 children that she has at home.
Yes.
She's a pro at children. So, at any rate, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no.
So Christina and I talked last month because CC Kids does a abuse prevention month in April, and I said, I can't fit you in April. She goes, that's okay, because May is adopt a child month.
No, May is National Foster Care Month, and it's okay because we've got a month for everything.
You do.
And we've got one coming up next month, too, so just keep it coming.
It's awesome because there's a lot of different types of information that we can talk about, and all of it is benefiting our community and our children. So let's talk about, to begin with, exactly what CC Kids does.
Okay. Well, Communities Connected for Kids is what is called the lead agency in child welfare, and that means a lot of stuff that nobody listening is going to care about. Basically, what it means is that we are the general contractors of the child welfare world. So
put it in perspective as someone who's building a house.
So we're not building a house. We're building safe families, and our subs, our providers, are not roofers and plumbers and carpenters. They are Hibiscus Children's Center, Oh my gosh, I knew as soon as I went into this, thank you. I was going to, 4 kids. Melanie is feeding me 4 kids, Camelot. So in other words, we have this network, we have this provider network. They all do a different thing, whether they are licensing foster parents, which is very important, and that's one part of our Get Out the Word campaign this month for National Foster Care Month. But whether they're licensing foster homes or their case management agencies, or they're providing psychological services, or group care providers, it's a very wide network of providers that are part of the system of care that community-based care is coordinating in our 4 counties: Indian River, St. Lucie, Martin, and Okeechobee counties. And then again, going back to our board, we have a board of directors, we are a private nonprofit, and we have a board of directors, of which Melanie is now our.
So is your board of directors representing all 4 counties?
Yes, our board represents all 4 counties. We have people that are in careers of law all the way to nonprofit, people that have maybe adopted children or know something about the foster care system itself. So we try to get a wide depth of people to sit on our board, but it is community-based, which is what's really wonderful.
And that way the needs of the community can be addressed through the direction that the board helps set for the staff. It's a large organization, and the fact that you are the overall general contractor means that you're able to make sure that the services aren't being duplicated with the money.
Absolutely. There's a whole lot to that. So we're making sure, first of all, we are finding out what services are needed. And then we are making sure that we have providers who can provide those services. And then we make sure that those services are provided in a quality way, that there are certain measures that are being met. Because we are beholden to the Department of Children and Families, to the state of Florida. We have, obviously we have to prove that we're doing the job well, and that all of our providers who are working in our system are doing the job well. And so, yeah, it is quite a system.
And the training that you all provide is a whole nother large piece that's a benefit to the community. Not to mention some of the other, I know that there's a lot of partnerships that happen, but I know that there's some programs you provide within the organization itself, which are really special. Like when the kids get to, when they're graduating from high school, and there's that age when they're young adults. I think that's a really special time too.
That is such an important program, and it's one that really resonates with a lot of people.
And I think the last time Christina was here, you brought somebody who that affected. You brought a young person who was in that gap where they'd aged out of the system. But
right, and that is something that program, and it's not just our program. It was born of it's actually a national program called Independent Living. And our approach to it in the local area is called Road to Success. But there was a time, a while, it's been a few years now, where, people would say flippantly, happy birthday, you're 18, you're homeless. And that is just simply, it does not have to be the case anymore, because now there are programs in place where young adults who have been in the system of care can remain in foster care, and they don't have to remain in it the traditional way,
because they may not want to.
They may, and that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
But they have more freedoms. They're recognized that they are an adult, but they can still stay and receive the benefits of foster care, but also the benefits and the necessity of being able to have enough freedom to
The independent
learn
living.
how to be an
Yeah,
adult and
yeah.
to be, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm glad Melanie mentioned that, and I'm also glad that she mentioned the training, because that is a huge piece, because it means that we are ensuring that our case managers who are responsible for, helping all of our families and children through the system, not only them, but also the departments, investigators, all of those people, that entire workforce is being trained through our training programs.
Well, Christina, you read the sad, explosive stories of the children who get caught in the system and aren't kept safe. And so we know the importance of that. And I'm talking about, I can remember offhand, it wasn't from this area, but the girl and boy that were in a cage in the back of somebody's truck. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And you only hear about it when it becomes so outrageous, or when it hits the media, and then you don't hear about the stories of the kids that didn't happen to because of organizations like Communities Connected for Kids.
Well, first of all, any child who dies, especially one who dies, who when they're supposed to be protected, especially one who's been adopted, like the one you're talking about, which was a long time ago, and they were from out of the area.
It was. Yeah.
That's a tragedy in and of itself. Oh my gosh, I just lost track of where I was going with that.
Well, and the reason I brought it up, the only reason I brought it up, is because a lot of times that may be the community's only experience with the agencies.
That's what I was going to say. So one child death is too many. Having said that, I am a former journalist. I worked in newspapers for more than a decade, and I think everybody knows on some level that if it happens all the time, it's not news.
It's not news.
So
if it bleeds, it leads, as another recovering journalist.
If right, and
Yes.
if it's in the news, there's a part of that. It's because it is so unusual, and I really do want people to kind of take that away with them. When they see these horrendous, first of all, it's misleading. Not the news coverage. I'm not saying the news coverage is misleading, but this idea that that abuse is always so horrendous and horrible, and that is not what leads abuse in our community. The majority of abuse cases, the reason why so many of the kids are in our care is because of, first of all, neglect leads above actual physical abuse.
The silent abuse.
But it's, people need to understand that there are three drivers of child abuse. It's going to come from domestic violence, substance abuse, or mental illness, and those three things are interwoven anyway. So it's much bigger than what it's a very big issue. There are multiple issues. So that's really what we're dealing with when we talk about child abuse.
It's a bigger, as you start to peel the layers back, it gets bigger and bigger. And one of the reasons that I was interested in sitting on the board is because I sat on the Treasure Coast Opioid Task Force, and I was learning about addiction and just realizing how long it could take just an individual to get through that if they could, but it may take I don't know, average of 9 to 12 times in a facility to get help. And then you're throwing children into the mix, and then you're realizing an agency like ours that's trying to bring permanency to these children so that they know that they have a safe place to be, and you're trying to do that in a short amount of time, but you're realizing that some of the factors coming into play with the neglect are very long term. So it started opening my eyes up to, when you bring these agencies together and how they're trying to build this safe haven around the kids, what has to happen. And then you start thinking about foster care and adoption and how you have to have such a large group of people that are willing, of families, to step up to the plate to take children in and even to eventually adopt them, to establish the permanency, and then having the resources for the families for reunification too at the same time. So there's a lot to it, and I just think that I just commend the agency because I know how much goes into it, and the workforce and the dedication of the workforce and the staff there. We have GEM awards and different things that people are recognized for, but you start to realize how there's just hundreds of human beings, or that are rallying around these kids, and even the parents.
No parent wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to be a bad parent today.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that's the truth. And I know it's easy to demonize biological parents who abuse and neglect their children, because how can you not feel? How can you not be angry? How can you not be angry, especially when you have children in your own life? However, it's such a complicated, messy thing that leads to child abuse. And you're absolutely right, Sue-elen. Nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to abuse my kid today. People wake up and they lose their jobs, and they have mental health issues, and they self-medicate, and they get hurt or something, and they take painkillers, and that feels really good, and it's a great escape from their miserable lives for a little bit, and then the chemistry in their brain changes to accommodate those drugs, and then before you know, you have addiction, and then all these horrible things are happening. People are responding in ways that they wouldn't otherwise respond. And the end result is innocent children who come into our system of care and who need homes, which, by the way, is why we're here today. It is National Foster Care Month, and we need foster homes.
And how do you do that? I mean, how do you get foster homes? What is the message that you give? Do people have to have certain types of situations? Do people have to have certain types of training? Are there certain types of families that are better as foster families than others?
So the short answer is no.
No.
Our families, there's lots of training.
Yeah.
No lie there. There's
Yeah.
lots of training, because
Yeah.
we want to make sure, the responsibility that we have is a responsibility to care for other people's children. That's huge. So absolutely, lots of training, lots of getting into your home, looking around. It's absolutely, if your kid was in care, wouldn't you want to know that there was some real due diligence happening to make sure that the people taking care of your kid were good people? But anyway, going back to your initial point, there is no one size fits all family. Our children are not one size fits all. We have children, we have black children, we have white children, we have teenagers, we have babies, we have LGBTQ youth, transitioning youth, we have gay children. We have all these children, and so we want families. We have Spanish speaking, we have Haitian speaking. We want families. We want all the families. We want all the families.
all the families.
So, and one of the things that I do say all the time, because I don't think everyone is fully aware that, yes, we want LGBTQ families. If you are if you're a married gay couple and you're listening to this and you're wondering, can I be a foster parent? Yeah, you can be a foster parent.
As a matter of fact, you'd probably be
if
awesome.
If you
entirely awesome.
There might be a single parent who is at home and thinking, can I, I'm not married. Yes, you can be a foster parent. If you work, you can be a foster parent. If you stay at home, you can be a foster parent. Basically, the bottom line is you need to be able to support yourself. You need to be able to just have that stable baseline, and you need to be willing to open your door and have an open heart and do the training. And also, I think important to add is understand that foster care, when we do it well, when everything works out well, these kids go home. because the other part of that is strong services to help these families correct the problems. The best place for a child most of the time is back at home. And so we need foster families, and this is part of the training, who understand their place in that process, in helping a child to stay connected with their family while he or she is in care, and then maybe helping the family be a better, stronger family. We see that all the time
But
now.
it's not all completely on that foster family.
No.
That the parent is getting the training that they need, because people just don't go into a home and take children away. Like you said, the best possible scenario is to create a safe and welcoming home environment in their home with their family.
Correct.
And I think one of the things I learned too, and this is just from friends of mine that became foster parents, is the system of care and how far it goes. So not only you get the training, and then you have the opportunity where you do become that foster parent. Maybe it's the first time, but it's how maybe you needed a crib, clothes, diapers. Like, there's just so much that's built into it, that there's people there to help you along the way. Yes, it is. I'm sure it's a rocky road. I wouldn't ever sugarcoat anything.
It's not easy, but nothing.
It's
worth
not, and
having
emotionally
is.
too.
Yeah.
But there's the therapy is built behind it, and a system of care, and then also just peer to peer. I feel like peer to peer, that people can talk to each other and get good feedback and just get guided in the right direction on that. So where you think of it's you're alone. And I do want to ask, and I think, Christina, if you could tell us, like, what would you suggest is the first step? So if you're interested and you're thinking about it, and maybe you dug a little bit on a website, like, what is that first class, or what is that first session that you should go to?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even before that, the first step is to call 772-873-7800 and ask for Jara. So Jara is a real life person who has the biggest, most amazing personality, and she will return a phone call or answer a phone 24/7. And she will talk you through it. She'll talk to you about the different agencies, child placing agencies is what we call it, to get licensing, to get your training. That's really, that's it. The first step is to call and to talk to Jara, and then Jara will walk you through it.
What is Cliff Wright? I can't see it. Melanie, I know that you can't stay for the whole show, so when and if you need to slip away, we know how to disappear people here on the radio show. You just
Special effects.
Yeah. Special. We'll talk about you when you're gone. But
Good things, all good things.
Yeah, Christina, how do you utilize board members and people with expertise like Melanie to make a CC Kids stronger?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, because we recently activated a board outreach committee. So we have board members, and they meet with me, and we do things. They participate in social media and helping to get messaging out to a broader audience. It's all about education and awareness. But even more hands-on than that, we've done a lot of work in Tallahassee. We're part of a large membership agency, the Florida Coalition for Children, and we work with our sister community-based care agencies throughout the state, because there are others like us throughout the state of Florida. And we work all year long with our legislators to try to improve funding for our local systems of care. And as a matter of fact, this year was incredibly successful. It was unprecedented. I believe we asked for $44 million, and we were given $150 million. And the majority of that is meant to go toward workforce development,
For the parents, for the
for
families.
case managers.
Oh, I gotcha.
We're,
Okay.
as a state, and really it's not even a state, it's nationwide, you probably won't be surprised to learn that we have not escaped the workforce challenges that abound. And we've been bleeding case managers. And so part of the problem we feel is that a starting case manager salary in the state of Florida is below that of teacher salaries and other industries that might be attractive to people who feel that calling to help others. And so we were actually losing case managers to education, to law enforcement. And so we said, hey, we need to lift the starting salary. And so anyway, the legislature heard the call and responded with $150 million allocation this year for our community-based care agencies, which, like I said, is unprecedented. So
how does that connect to the board?
So how that connects to the board is our board members are part of that that group. They help us to advocate. They help to send letters. They help to call legislators. They go up with us to Tallahassee to visit. And now, while I don't know if they're even home yet, they might still be in the 900th session that's been called this year. I don't know, but when they're home in their district, it's a great opportunity for us to use our board members to go visit our local legislatures, and to first and foremost say thank you, and then to talk about other needs in the system, talk about our successes, and ask them if they have any concerns, and just keep them aware of who we are and what we need throughout the year, so we're not just asking them for stuff.
Melanie, how about your outreach efforts? What are some of the ways that you stay involved in the community? You've already been on the board for 4 years. What are some of the things you've brought to the table?
So I think it's continuing to educate myself and my peers, speaking up. I'll be at the supermarket, and it's funny, a couple years ago when I had my daughter, I was pushing her around and someone's like, oh, look at the cute baby. And I'm like, well, did you know that there's babies in foster care that are exactly her age that need a home? And just starting a conversation like that, that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
You're
going to start having your kids hand out little business cards
because
for you.
I think if you can put a face to it, because if people start seeing this is the age and this is the age, and even teenagers, and Sue-Elen, you and I worked together when I was at Boys and Girls Club too, and I remember the children that back then, because this was 13 years ago, that had aged out, and the fact that this agency has something in play now that's supporting those kids, and knowing right now that the things that our board and our wonderful dedicated staff can put together that's going to change the trajectory of children that are in right now too, that's really special to me. And I think what's the important part is that we're continuing to educate ourselves and taking those moments, whether it's person to person, or we're on the radio today, or we're going to the pool party, or whatever the events are that Christina has set up, that you just really listen to that calling and take that opportunity to speak up for those kids and those families in any way we can, to surround them and to bring them to success. So that's what brought me there.
So here's a question about if you're interested in being a foster family. You go, you call Jera, you get started in the pipeline, you do the training, and then do you get a catalog with children in it? How does that work?
No catalog. What
I just picture people flipping through going, like that one.
Might be easier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have the ability to keep up with the printing that would be required with the children who are coming into care. Okay, so how does that work? Once you're licensed and your home is ready to receive children, you're working with a child placing agency, and we have 4 that we work with. So basically what will happen is we get children who come into care who need a placement, and you'll get a phone call. That's basically it. You'll get a phone call, and you'll be asked, this child has come into care, or these children, which is, actually often the case, sibling groups come
So
into care.
sibling, yeah.
And so they'll just talk through it. Whether if some people are licensed to, some people are licensed to receive certain age groups. We have some foster parents who really prefer the older children, although we don't have nearly enough of those. And then we have a lot of foster families who prefer the younger children. People always ask, can we be licensed just for babies? We do have foster homes that are set up more to have babies, but it doesn't really work out that way. It's really the child who comes into care is the child who needs the home. And our child placing, our licensing specialists will get on the phone. They have a list. They know who their families are. They know how much room they have.
So it's more
how
like a
they're set up.
matching situation.
It really is, yeah. The licensing specialists will do a matching, and then they'll get on the phones, and then they'll start calling and asking those who meet those, who are the best matches if they'll take the children.
Is there a box that the families can check that says, yes, we want someone who's likely to stay longer?
I'm going to just say no.
Okay.
I'm going to say, because here's
it changes.
There's no hard and fast rules. First of all, I want to say that there's no hard and fast rules. You really have to sit down and have a conversation with a licensing specialist. But I will tell you that as an organization, as a philosophy, we really have come away from what we used to call foster to adopt. We had people who they wanted to adopt. They wanted a child, and so they would become licensed as foster parents. And what happened is they would not take children who were they wouldn't take the children who needed a placement, who maybe they just needed a placement for a few days or a couple of weeks or a month, and they were kind of they were waiting for the child that they were looking for. And so that really presented a problem, because again, it goes into the training. I promise you, once you come through it, you're going to understand the story. You're going to know the score, right?
It's a selfless love.
It is
when you
selfless.
take them in, because you know that you want to reunify them if possible.
And I'm glad, Melanie, you said earlier, you talked about how it's not easy, and you shouldn't want it to be easy. It is not an easy thing. It should be. You know what? You should get attached. You should feel sad when a child leaves your home, because you should love that child. That child deserves that. But if you're trained well enough, if you have enough resources, if you have the support, which you will have, then we can help you be ready to let them go, because you understand that you are part of something much bigger than you, much bigger than your family. You are helping to reunify a child, send a child home to a stronger family. If you are a religious person, a person of faith, then you believe already in the redemptive nature, right? In redemption. You believe in redemption. If you're a spiritual person, you believe in redemption. And so I don't think it's a stretch to apply that to what we do. We have families who are broken, and they need to be fixed, and most of them can be. And
So what percentage of, give me just the number out of the air type of ballpark percentage of children who are in foster care that go home to their regular home?
I will tell you, I really don't have the number off the top of my head, but the majority of children do.
So
go
majority.
home. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. The majority of children. What I can tell you is that right now we have about 700 children in care.
That was my next question.
Those are
Yeah.
children who are living with foster parents, living with relatives, children who are still at home, in receiving services because that's a big part of
continued
what
care.
we do. That's, there's problems. It's not big enough to remove the child and subjecting them to that kind of trauma. So that's what we call in-home. Those are children in group care. So 700 children across the board. Of that number, about 500 children are in out-of-home care. So children who have been removed, and they're now living either in licensed foster home or with a relative. And the majority of those children do live with relatives, 300 right now, actually. 125 children are living with what everyone out there has in their head is a foster parent, right?
Right.
When you say foster care, what you think of, just a couple of good people or a single good person that just wanted to open their home to a child who they might not know, foster parent. There's 125 of those right now.
And that's in a 4-county area.
That's in a 4-county area. It's not enough.
And those are some of the sibling groups talking about that. That's probably the case with a lot of that number as well.
So people ask, the magic question is, how many do you need? And it's hard to answer that because we always need a lot more than, you might have a number of children, but you need more homes than that, because what happens if you have all of your homes tied up? Maybe you have a few that are open and available, but then you have a sibling group of 5 children who come in, and this family over here has room for 1, and this home over here has room for 2, and nobody wants the 17-year-old because they think teenagers are scary. Poor teenagers. They really
so
have
where
a
do those
bad rap.
kids go? So where do
but-
the kids,
but
when
the-
they don't have families,
So
go?
that's the point. That is why we need more families, because we need to be able to make homes available to keep sibling groups together. Because what happens when we don't is they get split up. One child goes to that one home.
And that's traumatic.
2 more children go to that other home, and then the 17-year-old goes to Hibiscus Children's Village in Vero Beach. And so they're all separate. They've already experienced this trauma of separation, of abuse, and then of separation.
And they don't have each other.
They
to
don't have
count
each
on
other.
anymore.
They're not going to their schools anymore. They can't see their dog. They don't have their friends anymore. They are scattered to the fork.
So all the good things in their life have disappeared.
all the things that provide stability to a person's life is gone. And then on top of that, they don't have the most important stabilizing influence, which is their siblings, the people they've grown up together with in the same home. And so foster homes, foster homes, foster homes.
And I actually did some research. It was probably like 15 years or so ago for an article about the fact that the number one influence in a child's life is not their parents, but it's their sibling. And I was amazed to hear that.
I bet you're not, Melanie. I wasn't either. We both have 4 children. And I can tell you, I won't speak for you, but when my children were younger, they're young adults now, but to me, the worst case wasn't that they would ever be taken from me. The thing that moved and caused me the most anxiety was the thought that the 4 of them could be separated. Yeah. Because I know how important they are to one another. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how I just got choked up. But I know you have 4
I know,
children
they're both
too.
sitting there tearing now. And I'm thinking of my own 2 children, which I can't imagine 4 because 2 was hard enough. But they were influenced on each other, but in such a way that Chloe grew up being the anti-Jake, and Jake wanted to be the anti-Chloe. They were like totally opposites, and I think that there were different times in their life where they took the opposite path just to take the opposite path. And I don't know if that dynamic takes place when you have more than 2.
Well, I think what you just shared is so important for people to hear, especially if they're considering fostering, and they may have said, okay, I want that one child that's maybe this age and that baby, but when they start realizing what the bond is and how that can be so influential on those children's lives, then people do open their heart, they do open their homes, because they start realizing that
it's actually going to be better for not only the children, but for their household environment if they've got the siblings there for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I am glad to hear that that there is knowledge of that, and that there are supports in place and training in place for foster families. And you have, this is a month that's set aside to bring to light the need for foster families. What do you have going on in the month of May?
So much. We actually kicked off the month with it was our second annual 1K for kids in Story Stroll. And we did that at Hillmore Lake Park. We're going to develop that because it was it's just a kind of event that can only get better. But basically, we invite everyone out to the park. We've set up these yard signs with lots of images and facts about foster care and the foster care community. But what makes it interactive is we also incorporated QR codes to videos. So, maybe on this 1K trail.
So it's like a little walking trail, talking trail. Interactive, yeah.
And, maybe on the trail you hear about Jera, and, if you're interested in being a foster parent, call Jera. Well, who is this Jera? Well, open up the QR code, and there she is introducing herself.
That's so cool.
Or if you want to hear about, the impact that a foster parent has had on a teenager. Open up the QR code and hear a story from a teenager. It's things like that, and so it is very interactive. It's physical. It's a nice day out under the trees. It's just a 1K. This year we got a sponsorship from Sunshine Health, and so we were able to provide orange juice and healthy snacks to people who came out. We also ordered T-shirts, foster care awareness T-shirts. I love T-shirts because it's like, releasing walking
posters.
billboards
Yes,
into
they are.
the community.
They are. So watch for this the first week of May every year, because it's going to be something that you continue
to
do.
We did it the Saturday before Mother's Day this year, and I was a little leery. I wasn't sure how but it worked. I think a lot of people, it just became hopefully it'll become part of the Mother's Day weekend. It just made sense. And then so that was more of an awareness, education, recruitment type event. And then later in the month, we have a picnic and pool party at Sailfish Splash that is a celebration.
Ooh, that's the water park.
For our foster families. So that's a private event where we just, we're just loving on our foster families, and they come out and, we reserve it privately and just treat them. And so, that's a lot of fun. And then all month long, if you follow us on social media, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're highlighting our families and our children, telling stories, just giving you that behind the scenes look at what we do in foster care.
Well, something else I know that you have, because I receive it, is your newsletter. So people can get on the list to receive a newsletter. That is it monthly that it comes out?
It's twice a month, and yes. So if you go to our website, you can actually sign up.
Sign up right there. And what is the website?
It's cckids.net.
So that's easy. cckids.net. And then social media is, there's a Facebook page, there's Instagram.
We're at C Connected 4.
And I heard that you'll have a plethora of Instagram reels that are really interesting.
Yes, and
so
the
you have to
reels
check
are
those out.
coming. So if you're a reel fan,
Oh my
a real
gosh.
fan, REEL, please, like them on Instagram so you can see some of Christina's hard work. You'll also see her latest reel from the parking lot of WPSL.
That's right. Yep. Just.
I thought it was great too this month. I know just working with a church and school, our diocese, which has over 50 entities, we all had things posted all month about foster care awareness. So just the fact that it's all in all the churches that are here locally and probably across the state, that's pretty neat. And I can imagine it's happening across the country.
Because you know that you're reaching families that are giving, caring, spiritual families in that type of situation.
Yeah,
So-
and especially the faith community is an excellent source of caregivers. It just speaks to them. And especially I love the fact that the Catholic Church is sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of our faith community we have a lot of members of the non-denominational
Mm-hmm.
Protestant community, but we'd really like to get the diocese and the synagogues more involved.
So is that your goals, would you say, for the upcoming year? Is, obviously, the show's been talking about attracting foster families in the mix. What are some other ways that people can get involved to further your goals?
Well, yes, it is now. Thank you, Sue-elen. It's now a goal. No, we always are looking to expand our network, and going back to our child placing agencies. These are the agencies that we work with that actually train and license foster homes, and they represent different areas of the community. For example, for kids is they take a faith-based approach. We have Camelot Community Care that is not part of the, it's, I hate saying it's part of the secular community because it always sounds like that's a bad thing, and it's not.
No, it's just a different thing.
It's
It's
right.
just
So
different,
the
yeah.
point is that we're working in the faith community, we're working in the general community, we're working with our LGBTQ communities. We really want, like I said from the very beginning, our children come from everywhere, and so we need that represented in our families.
Christina, I know your children are late teens, early adults. Melanie, yours are,
Itty bitty
two,
still.
2
to 11.
2 to 11. What do you tell them about what you do with the CC Kids? How do you
Such a
explain
good
that to them?
question.
I know. Actually, we've had this conversation because we know we have some family members and we have some friends that have fostered, and we talk about, why children maybe have to leave their mommy and daddy and how they're going to a home that's going to care for them for a little bit, but that they're maybe not going to stay in that home forever, and that it's our job just to love on those kids so that they can maybe go back to their mommy and daddy, or maybe they will stay with that family. We just don't know. And so I think it's teaching your kids that giving is the right thing to do, and just giving of yourself and your time and to be a part of those children's lives. And that's how I explain it to my kids, because it's just explaining what's going to be right for that child. And so it is difficult sometimes because you're realizing like the permanency may not be with that particular family that's fostering, but that's okay, because if they're able to go back to their mommy and daddy, then
That's the win.
yes.
That's the big win. Is
And sometimes people may be sick for a little bit, and that's why, the kids have to be away from them, but they can go back if they get better.
Christina, your kids have been exposed to this for years, through their teen years. What do they think? Does everybody
my children, I can remember doing school supplies for students with Chris Adams in the United Way, collecting school supplies for kids
That's
in foster
probably where I
care.
first met you.
And and they were, especially, at least the two youngest were in playpens. I'd just bring them. I didn't even use playpens, but I have a very distinct memory of having a playpen with me and going to school supplies for students. So yeah, my kids they've grown up with it. My oldest daughter, Emily, actually was a case manager for Children's Home Society in Tallahassee for several years. Loved it. Is an LCSW, a therapist now up in Maryland. Works in the school district up there. So it definitely had an impact on her. And all of them, it's almost, honestly, I've always, if you include your children in your life and you in every part of it, and I'm a firm believer in open and honest talk, then there's never any big surprises, and it's just, they just know.
Mm-hmm.
They're just exposed and they know, and
But also what I've seen too with my two that are in their 20s as well is that they see through my eyes, they see how the community outreach with different organizations works and makes a difference in the community, and they see the importance of being involved. Mm-hmm. And even though they may not every year be doing it themselves, they see the big picture. They see, and as much as our children, and Melanie, your children probably still adore you, but as much as our older children try so hard to grow up not like us, we are a big influence, second only to those siblings in their lives. So
I look at my grandmother who lived to be 100, and she just passed away last year, but she was volunteering 4 days a week at 4 local agencies.
Wow.
And I know that's what brought her to 100, and she had a very fulfilled life, and we all adored her for that. So that's the legacy I want to have for my children.
That's so sweet.
I hit 100. I'd be probably 120. I'm going to put that out there.
Well, Melanie never did leave us, so thank you. We appreciate it. We're sorry that if we made you late to your next appointment. We've been talking about CC Kids and about the importance of foster families in the system. The month of May is Foster Family Awareness Month.
Close enough.
All right, I'm just like,
you know what? I don't even know.
spitballing.
Every time I turn, it's like it used to be Foster Family
Foster
Appreciation Month. Then it's like Foster Care Month, Foster Family Month. It's about foster care.
So my guests have been Christina Keiser and Melanie Wiles, and Melanie's chairman of the board for Communities Connected by Kids, and Christina is Director of Communication. Thank you for joining me today. Again, you can find them on the website or